Well, it wasn't the week that pretty much all of us were hoping for when we started this show today, but we're here to talk you through it and look forward to maybe bouncing back against Oakland Roots. Sorry I missed y'all for a couple weeks here, but in the great words of poet Marshall Mathers, with a little twist, guess who's back? Back again. Ray is back. Tell a friend. Welcome to the Podcast of Champions. This is the Orange and Black Soccer Cast. How's it going, Orange County? Welcome to another episode of the Orange and Black Soccer Cast, the first and only podcast dedicated to Orange County Soccer Club, its fans, and supporters. I'm your host, Ray Samora. I'm here to take you through this journey as we discuss all things Orange County Soccer Club. Helping out for this episode first, the gentleman that did a great job filling in my spot last week, Mr. Brad Polanski from Vegas. Thank you for stepping in last week, Brad.
Yeah, thanks for saying my name properly and also blowing out my eardrums with the intro. I turned on some setting that increased the bass, and all of a sudden it just went nuclear to my ears.
Well, maybe it just made my voice sound a lot better than it normally sounds. So thanks for that setting, Brad's earphones, computer, whatever it was. We have one other person helping us out. This person's been asking to be back on the show forever, and we finally welcomed him back. That is the person known as OC Soccer Dad, Russell. Okay, I know we've talked about this in the past, but how do we say your last name? Just tell me, and I'll forget. But just
Buto, like a beautiful toe. Just remember a beautiful toe, and then you'll say Buto. So
whenever we see your face, we're going to think of a beautiful toe, Buto. Yeah. Welcome, Russell, to the show. How you doing, man? Welcome back.
I'm doing as well as I can after a Saturday night like that, But the good news is I get to wear my gnarly jersey because I'm not permitted by the family to wear this to the matches because they say it's too obnoxious.
And your family would be 100% incorrect with that assessment of the gnarly kit.
I couldn't agree more, but I tried to wear it a couple weeks ago, and my daughter said I could either wear it or I could have her go to the game. So I chose switching to a different jersey.
I got to ask you this, Russell. Who pays for the tickets?
Well, it's not about that. She's 14.
You're too nice, man. I'd be like, you're coming to the game regardless, and I bought the tickets, so enjoy this jersey. But we're not here to talk about the gnarly kit. We could spend a whole episode talking about the greatness that is the gnarly kit. But we're here to talk about, unfortunately, a couple of poor results from Orange County over the past week, and then look ahead to maybe what's coming up here, and hopefully a good solid rebound. I'm just going to ask you this. Before we get into the assessment of these matches, I just want to ask. I'm going to go to you first, Brad. Let's do a scale of 1 to 10. How would you rate Orange County's two matches this week, their performance in the two matches? 10 being the best they could have done, 1 being the worst they could have done. And I'm putting them on the spot, folks. They weren't ready for this question, so don't give them a hard time.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask for a little clarification. Do I rank them individually or combined?
Combined. The week combined.
I'm gonna say anywhere from a 3.5 to a 4. And
3.5 to 4.
Do I need to give rationale?
Yeah, let us know why you think where that is.
I want to say it's a 3.5 to 4 because for most of the game against Lou City, 1 goal aside, I think we were hanging in there, if not sloppily, and a lot could have been gone the other way had a goal been counted. For the game against Loudon, I don't know how to say their name.
Loudon.
Oh, I think 2 big mistakes led to 2 goals, and unfortunately, we didn't have the goals to get back in it.
So, Russell, let me go to you. So, Brad said 3.5, 4 is what he would give. Is he being too nice for Orange County there, or is he critical of Orange County?
Math came out 2 for Loudon and 5 for Lou, so 7 divided by 2 is 3.5. But I didn't get to watch the whole Loudon game, but I was watching. I was on 3 hours earlier time zone for business travel. If you know, you know. But the thing about that game was cross country travel midweek, our home cup game, we had to come out better than we did. So that 2 is extremely generous. Maybe it's a 1. I don't know. Maybe it's a 0. Lou City, on the other hand, we traveled, top ranked team. So I thought it was acceptable, but not a winning performance. So that's why I gave it a 5, but 3.5 is what I came up with.
Yeah, the hard thing for me with Loudoun, right, is obviously when you look at the starting lineup for Orange County in that match, they were taking the match serious. They were coming in with a goal to win the match. It was pretty much a roster you would expect to see in league play. It wasn't like some teams do where they're starting half the rotating half the roster for a cup match in the early rounds, right? They were really coming out to win. And the unfortunate part, I feel like, other than the goals, they may have had a better performance out there. Maybe I was watching something completely different, and I was watching it from the stream, and I don't know about y'all, but my stream was very choppy and really not working well, which sucked. But I felt like from what I could see on it, they were doing pretty good, other than they couldn't get the ball in the back of the net. And the major frustration with it is they had all that energy after Thomas Among scores the equalizer, and then a minute later, 2 minutes later, really poor positioning and poor play. I believe it was by Ashton Miles, I believe was the one that was the culprit on that made the big mistake there, led to Loudoun taking the lead again. And then a Marcus Knockham missed penalty, but I mean, hey, it's a great save by the Loudoun goalkeeper. I mean, you can't blame Marcus on that. It was a pretty good shot. It just was a better save. It was a winnable match. That's the thing that's, I think, the most frustrating with the Loudoun match. That was actually a winnable match for Orange County. Even though they went down 2 times, it was a winnable match, or at least a match that they should have pushed into extra time. Now, the Lou City match, I think, was the worst of the 2 performances for Orange County, which I guess I'm just opposite of both of you all. The biggest thing for me with the Lou City match is the team just in the midfield did not look like there was anything there. And that was the biggest downfall. And then obviously the bench full of kids, which didn't really help when someone like a Marcus Knockham has to come out of the match for an injury. And like Brad mentioned, questionable call on a offside where Orange County, I believe it was 2-0 at the time. Orange County could have cut back into that lead, made it 2-1. And that's a whole different match at that point with Orange County only down a goal. A lot of stuff went crazy there. But I think I'm opposite of y'all. I think the Loudoun match was the better performance for Orange County this week. I think we're just frustrated because that's the one that we should have won for sure. Where we're all looking at Lou City as being the one that we probably weren't going to win regardless. But that's just me.
So here's the question though, Ray. Knockham, should he have taken that kick? Is he the right guy to take a kick in a situation like that? That's what I struggled to understand.
Here's what I will say on it. He very forcefully and very adamantly took that ball and said, "This is my penalty." I'm assuming there's a hierarchy when it comes to who is taking the kick or who's deciding to take the kick. And I can't remember in the instance there is if Knackham's wearing the captain's armband, but I'm assuming he is because he is the captain when he's out there most of the time. I mean, you have to do what your captain says, right? And if he's taking control of that, and again, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brad, you could tell me if I'm wrong on this, but it was not a bad penalty on Knackham's part. It was just a really good save from the Loudoun goalkeeper. Knockham hit it as pretty close to the post with some pace. The Loudoun goalkeeper just made a really good save there, right? Am I wrong there, or am I correct on that?
I don't think you're wrong, but I agree with you. I don't think the game was lost off of a missed penalty kick. I think it was lost with just silly mistakes, mispositionings, and giving up a goal when we honestly had all the pressure in the world. Scoring a goal and then immediately conceding is just the worst feeling.
Definitely. Here's what I want to say. I want to give Russell, I want to give you a chance. Is there anything about either of these two matches that you liked or that you saw and you're like, okay, this is...
Unfortunately, I saw very little of the Loudoun match because, like I said, I was on business travel and it was 4:30 p.m. For the start of that, so I didn't get to see very much. I did watch the entirety of the Louisville match, and what I'll say is this: if we had just a little bit more depth in the midfield, Kyle, I thought did everything Kyle's supposed to do. But the link up play in the midfield was inhibiting us because, we didn't send the ball. We didn't clear the ball very much in the match. We tried to, consistently build out of the back, but when you get stuck in the midfield every time and you can't move it into the attacking third, what do? I mean, we had, 7 shots to their 27, but I thought I continue to think Kyle is like really showing signs of brilliance in some of his, positioning off the ball, a lot of stuff. So that to me was the exciting part of the match, is to continue to see that.
Brad, the hard part for this match was Orange County was continuously like Russell was saying, building out of the back, trying to build out of the back. And I don't know, I don't watch Lou City, but their game plan was just super high press on Orange County. If we had Kevin Partita in this match, is it a different story the way Orange County is able to build out of the back, or are we still going to struggle in this type of match?
I think we're still struggling. If Orange County's defensive midfield is, our success, Lou City's offensive midfield, attacking midfield is the best in the league. If you were to second it to anybody, maybe it's second to Charleston, but only Charleston. When you have Elijah Winder, Davila, Wilson, Morris, all guys who can attack and score out of the midfield, not let alone, assist. And then you have a player like Adrian Perez coming off the bench for 30 minutes, and he's one of the better attacking, distributor players in the league. He comes on, 2 assists immediately for him the rest of that game. I agree. I think our issue here was more we don't have the substitutes or the depth right now. When you're talking, we have Bryce Jamison, Ben Barjolo, Ryan Ayub, and then 2 other academy players on the bench who are our subs, with really Ethan Zubak being the non-academy person. I know I'm calling Bryce academy, but he played academy last year. It's really tough when you're going against a team that has Amadou Dia, Neal McCabe, Sam Gleedle, Aidan McFadden, and the aforementioned Adrian Perez coming off the bench. That's just one of the deepest teams in the league. They're going to make you, pay for being tired, and that's what they did. They controlled the midfield, and I really do think Kevin Partita would have helped, but he wasn't a solution. We're missing something on the attacking key there.
And I'll say this, if you look at Lou City, they've scored 26 goals so far this year. So they're scoring very consistently. And, that was going to always be the challenge, is how do you stop them? I would have liked to have seen us hold them to 1 goal or 2 goals. That 3rd goal was just kind of insult to injury. That would have been a little bit of a bright spot to me if we could have kept them at 1. Because we're not scoring anywhere near as many as they are. But, they're also right up with us in terms of, goals conceded, So, in fact, they're ahead of us as I look at it. So, that combination, right, score a lot of goals and, don't allow a lot. That's a combination. Yeah. Goal differential. It's such a great stat for them.
And we saw there, as you were talking, Russell, the game flow chart, courtesy of American Soccer Analysis, pretty much favorable to Lou City that whole match, which I think anyone, I know there's always the controversy about, all the statistics and all that stuff and just the eye and seeing what you see. But I think it's all in step there. I think we all agree Lou City was the better team. Orange County was struggling, and both the eye and the chart show that. Quick question, and then we'll move on to what's happening upcoming and see if Orange County can bounce back. We talked about the questionable call that could have changed potentially the flow of the match, that offside call on the goal. I'm not going to ask for your analysis on it. I just want a yes or no. Was it the correct call, Brad?
Camera angles are so tough to tell. I'm not going to answer that.
You've got to give an answer, Brad. I'm making you all give an answer.
Then I'm going to give it to the person who's professionally trained. I'll say yes. Okay.
What about you, Russ?
I'm going to say no.
All right. That's simple as that. I'm going to say no. My eye, when I'm watching that, it's a no to me. Even with the weird angles, I get it. It's what happens. We have to live with it. But I'm going to say no, and it could have changed the momentum in that match. Orange County. Now, at this point, Orange County has to bounce back after a poor, week span of matches here. And to do so, they're going to have to do it against an Oakland Roots team. That's probably not the easiest team to bounce back on against. And to help us out in previewing this match, we've brought a friend of the show back, Mr. Peter Bloom from Roots Blog. Peter, welcome back to the show, first and foremost.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for taking some time to talk with us about your team, Oakland Roots, and hopefully they'll find a way to struggle against Orange County in this upcoming match, but not saying that'll in fact happen. Tell us about this. How's Oakland looking? How's their season going so far?
I was going to say, you guys are looking to bounce back, and if you are looking for a team to bounce back against, can I interest you in the Oakland Roots? They are struggling. They started the season 2-1-5 with some, quality results. They drew Charleston. Admittedly, it was week 2, and Charleston had to fly 3,500 miles out here. But it just sort of went downhill from there. They got a win in the first round, or the first USL round of the Open Cup. But that wasn't enough. When they lost to Colorado Springs, that got the big ugly axe for Noah Delgado, who was let go April 29th. And since then, they have not rebounded, although have maybe looked better. They replaced Delgado with his assistant, Gavin Clinton. And, they got a quality draw against San Antonio playing the kids. But they lost to New Mexico this past weekend. They got bounced from the Open Cup by San Jose. And we're going to see. They unfortunately continue to look a little toothless. So that's the Roots schedule, or how they've been doing so far.
So what you're telling me is I have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm completely wrong in my assessment that it's a tough upcoming rebound match for Orange County. The only reason I say it's a tough rebound match is Oakland is the home team here. So as much as I love to, be a homer for Orange County isn't playing well, and they're on the road in Oakland. And I believe these Orange County Oakland matches have always been pretty competitive, if I can recall. So it's not like it's something where Orange County has this history of destroying Oakland or dominating Oakland and stuff. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, Brad. You can let me know if I'm totally wrong on my assessment here. How confident are the fans in Oakland already getting worried with the season, with the struggle so far?
Yeah. I mean, the attitude right now is not great. I think a lot of people wanted Noah to go, and so I think the coaching change has helped in some regard. I mean, I think that there's a limit to the amount that Noah was responsible for what was going on, but overall, I think people are a little upset, and they're upset because the performances look bad in addition to the results being bad. And it's a little hard to see improvement or a path forward at the moment. But, I think that notwithstanding some gallows humor, I think that Oakland fans, the Oakland fans that I run with are going to go to games, win, lose, or draw. So you're not going to get a friendly environment when Orange County comes to visit. But I think there are some glimmers of hope. I see some glimmers of hope because I have to find a way to talk about this team twice a week. The overall mood of the fan base could be better. This season, thanks for the comment. Is that Andy who sends those comments? Or do we say the producer? Sorry, I don't want to out him.
Producer Andy.
We call him
Producer Andy.
Producer Andy. Okay. Yeah, I have been bringing this. The sousaphone debuted this year. This was what amounts to a prank that my wife and her parents pulled on me by calling my bluff and buying me a sousaphone. And so now I stand with the drummers and play whatever I remember from high school.
Oh my gosh. So, Peter, obviously, results notwithstanding, I did manage to catch a decent amount of the game against the very beautifully dressed Isotopes Ballpark dwelling New Mexican United game. And I think what I saw from my end is, you know, there is familiarity with the players with each other. A lot of the players on this team have been around forever. Um, I think they're right now struggling with their system and really capitalizing on opportunities given to them. Because I do remember some pretty good team play leading up to Neville Hackshaw's goal in that game. But other than that, a lot of mistakes leading to, I think, a Kali's goal there, and her scoring very early on was definitely difficult. But I guess one of my first questions for you is is was the issues of the past a product of the players not gelling, or management not gelling with the team?
So, I mean, there are some like rumors that there were some difficulties between management and the players. It's a little hard to verify that. And there has been a system change, and I think there's reason to think that the system change has helped. They've switched to a four at the back under Gavin Glitton, and I think that has some growing pains, but also is a sign of maybe moving things forward. I think that you're right. There were some moments where there was some good interplay in the New Mexico game. Uh, but the Roots have had real trouble turning possession in the opponent's half into possession in the opponent's box. So it's like they get some of this possession and it looks like it's going somewhere, but they just have a hard time with that vertical passing or carrying the ball into the box so that they can get these shots. And I think that the Roots defense should be really strong. And I think that its weakness is that opposing teams are completely disrespecting the Roots offense. And the Roots aren't making them pay for that. And so if you're just not worried about the counterattack at all, you can keep the pressure on. And eventually, despite being a sort of regular, at least contender for team of the season, Paul Blanchette makes some mistakes. Or he gets into a position where it's not even a mistake. It's just one-on-one and he's going to lose. The New Mexico game was unfortunate because that first goal, I think, was largely a product of the sun being directly in his eyes. It's an absurd park that they play in New Mexico. And it's still a big mistake, right? I mean, if the keeper shouldn't play the ball short if he can't see ahead of him because of the sunlight. But I think maybe it's not the mistake that it looked like. It wasn't a terrible pass. It was a risky pass that was sort of a mistake.
All right. My next question, I mean, you alluded to it already. A defense with Camden Riley, Niall Logue, and Memo Diaz is always going to be a pretty good defense for me. So the offense is lacking, is what you had said. And then Paul Blanchette, we know him, Paul the Wall. Has he really had that much of a decline over the last 2 years from where we used to remember him when he first showed up on the scene?
I don't think anything like what the numbers look like from this season. I mean, the Roots don't have a shutout in a long time, but I think a lot of that is systemic. It's not that Paul's not what he once was. It's like he's had a kind of a rough stretch, but mostly he's just getting in these positions where it's just impossible. The second New Mexico United goal is a good example. I mean, that was a free kick in a dangerous area, and the ball goes between the heads of the two guys in the wall and sneaks in the near post corner. And I mean, what are you going to do about that? And so I think that, maybe there's been a little regression, but, at the end of the day, like, I still believe in Paul. I think that most Roots fans do. He may have had some bad games, but I think mostly it's just the amount of pressure he's under.
All right, I got one more question. I'm going to steer away from soccer with this question. I think you have an idea where I'm going now. I'm not going to name names because I do know the ownership of the other group. However, they align themselves with Mr. John Fisher, the San Jose Earthquakes. And this is a very similar situation to what we saw here in Orange County with Los Galaxy 2 a couple years ago, where the MLS tries to enter a market. It wants to take over because of the competition there. And Bay Area, very similar to LA in terms of proximity between these giant markets. How much of a threat does the Oakland Roots see the Town FC as competition, given that they're playing on the other side of the Caldecott Tunnel, and just MLS Next Pro as a different competition as well?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, and I would like to know what the Roots front office thinks about that, because they're not going to give me a straight answer on how much of a threat they see. But I'm not that worried about Quakes 2 or the Town or whatever they're calling themselves, preposterously calling themselves the Town FC and playing in Moraga. I'm not going to field any questions about where the Roots are playing right now. But I think that the biggest obstacle to the Oakland Roots right now is getting a venue, is finding a place that you can play a USL level game in Oakland. The people come up with all of these theories that you could play at a high school stadium or you could play at a college stadium. You really can't. USL has very high standards. You need all of these features that are hard to get. And that's not going to be any easier for John Fisher with Quakes 2 than it has been for the Oakland Roots the last several years. I think it is also helpful to the Roots that the city government and the county government, Alameda County and the city of Oakland, are not going to do any favors for John Fisher. They're not going to go out of their way to broker a big real estate deal for him to build a small stadium to let his minor league team play in. What's the point? And so I think that, it's like my kind of, I don't think that Quakes 2 are going to get anywhere really unless the Roots have to fold for their own reasons. And the only way that I could see things getting really problematic is if Quakes start, I don't know, negotiating deals with the Roots' big sponsors so that they sponsor the Quakes instead of sponsoring the Roots, and then suddenly the Roots, revenue dries up. But I don't know. The Quakes don't draw a ton of eyes right now. If they weren't, they're not drawing significantly bigger numbers than the Roots. It's a little hard to tell, the self-reported numbers. And I know relatively few Roots fans who like the Quakes, despite being, the kind of sickos who want to watch any kind of local soccer they can get their hands on. It's just I don't know. San Jose feels very far away. And it doesn't feel culturally the way that Oakland feels or the way that supporting the Roots feels. So I'm not in the immediate term concerned about it. I just talk a lot of shit about it on the internet because I don't like the guys who own the Town FC. That's not fair. I don't like one guy involved with Town FC.
So it does bring up, Peter, a whole interesting theme. Galaxy 2, the MLS Next Pro team for Galaxy, which was in the championship, has now rebranded as Ventura County FC. And my conspiracy theory about that is that MLS Next Pro is hemorrhaging so much money that the MLS teams are looking to find financial partners that are unsophisticated to lay off their MLS Next Pro teams to bear all the risk and, basically disentangle that financial liability. And I've even heard, and this comes from some wild sources, from the, levels of youth soccer as it relates to MLS Next club teams, that there's beginning to be some major chinks in the armor of MLS Next, right? Some of the teams are literally playing in MLS Next Pro at high school stadiums, and they're using VOs to broadcast games. So, my hope for you guys is that you can find a long-term sustainable path similar to what we've been able to carve out here, because I think it's better for, the American soccer pyramid than letting, one closed system control everything. So I don't know if that was a question or a comment. But I do have one question, and if I have time, I may ask another. So another observation I've had from my experience in youth soccer is that anytime you get someone that gets, you know, a VC or SFP 3-game suspension, it can be completely traumatic to the whole team, to the chemistry, whatever you want to call it, the mojo. And so I have to wonder if maybe some of the struggles that you guys are experiencing go back to that Monterey Bay game. And I don't know if you're comfortable talking about it, but, you know, what are your thoughts on how that has unintentionally impacted your continuity, I'll call it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been a real factor, and it's one that I probably unfairly omitted when I was summarizing the season earlier, because particularly Nabil Hackshaw is so important to this team, and a 3-game suspension was a big problem. You know, the Roots very likely dropped some points that they wouldn't have dropped with him on the field. You know, I was in the stands. It was a little like not everyone in the stands realized that there was a fight immediately. So like I wasn't even paying attention to see the beginning of the fight. I've talked to a lot of people to see if anyone could figure out what happened. No one could really figure out what happened, and the team isn't saying anything. You know, I think that there are folks who think that one of the reasons that Delgado was let go is because of disciplinary issues, and that the most salient issue of that was that he lost control of the team, leading to that fight and losing 2 starters for 3 games. You know, I don't really know what happened. I kind of wish I did, but it's frustrating that the team just couldn't get into the locker room. Especially, you know, it's funny. It's like of all of the Roots rivalries from a fan point of view, we definitely hate Monterey Bay the least. And yet the team itself seems to have the most trouble with accusations of people on the field being upset with each other.
Well, that's unfortunate, because you should hate the most whoever you're closest to. That's how I see it, right? That's why we hated San Diego so much.
But it's like Monterey Bay is this like harmless little brother, and Sacramento is the team that we really hate.
Yeah, I was gonna say Sacramento is like the big bully brother, while Monterey Bay is kind of like that chill, cool younger brother who you kind of feel bad for at times.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm sure you guys understand the difference between the Central Coast and the Central Valley.
There we go.
All I know is the best thing about Sacramento is the interstate goes straight through it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great place to stop on the way to Tahoe.
You know, here's what I'd love to talk. I'd love to hate on the Central Valley a lot more here, but we do have to wrap things up. We do have another guest waiting to jump on here, but I do want to say this really quick, Peter. First, let our listeners know if they want to hear more or read more from you. Where do they go for that stuff?
Yeah, so our website, we are the only people still running a website, is oaklandrootsblog.com, or you can find us on Twitter at oakrootsblog, because at rootsblog was taken, annoyingly. And then, you know, if you want to follow news about the Roots, the person to follow is my colleague, John Como, and I do primarily memes and have bad opinions. So, you know, my Twitter account's up there, but, you know, follow at your own risk.
I do have one more 2-part question. It's super short. Part
quick
1,
answer,
will you be coming to Orange County?
I will not.
Okay.
Sorry, it's a long answer. Okay. I am welcoming my first child in the next couple of weeks, and am likely to have gone to my last Roots game of the season.
Congrats. Well, the part 2 was with the Sousaphone travel, so I guess that's not relevant.
Well, look, it may be next year, but that's going to be really on your stadium and your front office, whether they'll let me bring the Sousaphone on. We'll
see what we can do for you there.
Yeah.
You're a good friend of the show. We'll talk to some people. Maybe our next guest can pull some strings. We don't know. But let me just say this real quick, Peter. Thank you so much for taking some time to join us here. And I'm going to leave you with this. The town belongs to the Warriors. It doesn't belong to Quakes too. And I know y'all hate the Warriors too, because they ditched Oakland in the past, but at least they stayed close. But whenever I hear the town, I think of the Golden State Warriors. I don't think of Quakes too. So just let you know on that. Thank you so much, Peter, for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Awesome. It's great. Peter's been on the show multiple times. He's a great friend of the show. We love having guests like him to come and help us out and preview some of these matches. Sorry, Brett, I did forget to get his prediction. Maybe we can message him and get something and we can post
he put it on our chat.
He did put it on the chat. Thank you, Peter, for catching that. And I dropped the ball on that. But we got to move on. We have another guest.
Wait. Before he joins, hey, Michael. Peter did say, I said he had his prediction. It is 1-1, a draw game between the teams. We can't just say he gave it to us and then not.
Well, I figured we would give it out when we talk about the contest going on. We'd be able to share that. But that's perfect. That works, Brad. So I guess the big introduction, it's going to just change. We're going to welcome Michael Rodriguez. Many of you will recognize the face from his time with CLC a few years back, but now he actually is working for Orange County Soccer Club. Tell us what you're doing with the club right now, because we were talking backstage about what your title is, what you do. What do you do for the club?
Yeah, so essentially I manage all the events for Orange County Soccer Club, community outreach, that type of stuff with the street team, as well as the in-game activation, stadium hosts, and then I'm in charge of all the digital aspects, all the Meta, Instagram, Facebook ads, all that stuff. So I'm kind of all over the place, but so the role encompasses it would be like marketing manager for digital and events. So that's essentially what I do in a nutshell, but I'm everywhere.
And I'll say this, Michael, I was a rude host. I didn't welcome you to the show. So first, now let me say, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Let me just say this. We're excited to talk to you because since you've been with the club, I think fans have noticed there's been a really big growth in what the team is doing, events wise, marketing wise, street team wise, all this stuff. And I know you've been a part of all that. What's the process been to try and get this ramped up? Because for us longtime fans that were there 4, 5, 6 years ago, there was very limited knowledge and visualization of this team outside of the fan base. What has it been like to sort of ramp this up, and what have you done to push that and make it even stronger and bigger than it was before you got there?
Yeah, when I joined back in October 2022, so it's been like a year and 8-9 months or so. But I feel like my role is a lot more behind the scenes stuff, or at least it used to be until I started hosting. But it's a lot more behind the scenes stuff. So kind of just like organizing and executing events, like I mentioned. But I think one of the biggest things that we've been able to do successfully is kind of just go into different areas that we haven't had much success in around Orange County. We've had success in Irvine at some points, in Anaheim and whatnot, but I think we've been hitting different markets like Santa Ana, Costa Mesa, Mission Viejo a lot harder the last year and a half or so. Kind of just the way the team has grown. When I hired in October 2022, we had 3 people on my team, 3 street team, and now I manage 15, 17 people. So just the growth there alone, it kind of just speaks to kind of what we do each week. I think we have anywhere from 3 to 5 events a week. So that's different areas in Orange County. And last year we had about 132 events, like with the booth, with an activation, gnarly there, all that stuff around Orange County. So that was really cool to see, just like the growth from having 3 people to having a team of 15 that's kind of all around Orange County every single week. And then that's not including kind of just like going to watch parties and flyer distribution, kind of just spreading the word of Orange County. So it's really cool to see how much it's grown in a little bit of time. And, obviously coming from a fan background, a supporter, a huge fan. My number one goal, like coming into this, was, hey, I want people to know about this. I want to kind of spread the gospel of OCSC. And I think I've definitely helped with it, but it hasn't, obviously it's not just been me, it's been the whole marketing team. We've definitely grown. I think I was a 3rd person hired in on the marketing team, and now we're about to like 5 or 6. So testament to all the hard work that kind of goes into it in the background as well.
Let me ask you this, because like you said, the club's been involving, you've been a big part of some of these community outreach events that we've seen. What's been, one of your favorite ones that you've done recently, these community events, either just, interacting with that portion of the community, or something that surprised you? What's been one that just stands out for you?
I think one of the biggest ones that we did last year, and we're doing again this year, was OC Pride. So in Santa Ana, downtown Santa Ana. That one was, I think it was pretty big for us. We were in the parade, so we had like some fans, some staff there in the parade with Gnarly and whatnot. And then at the end of that, we had a booth on 4th Street in downtown Santa Ana. So we had a lot of people actually come up to us and say, I'm really glad you're here. It's really good to see another sports team out here. It means a lot that, there's, a professional sports team out here, and you guys are kind of just not, phoning it in. You guys are actually here, and, say that you're proud to be part of Orange County. You're proud of the people that live here and things like that. So I think that one was, really well done, and something we're doing this year with OC Pride. It's going to be in October this year, actually, because they have a bigger venue space. It's going to be at the OC Fairgrounds in Costa Mesa. We're going to be a sponsor for just one of the zones. So definitely a lot more involved than we were last year. And then they're going to be, we're going to have something set up for them this year for our game. Just like last year, ticket proceeds go to the organization, benefiting them during the month of June and beyond. So I think that's just one of the ones that I see, and I'm like, okay, we made, a difference there. People said, they specifically said, I'm glad you're here. So I think that one still sticks with me the most. And, that's kind of the stuff we want to do.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us again, Michael. I have to take a moment to apologize for all the kerfuffle that happened when you joined the show.
All good.
But one of the things, I know you said you joined around late in 2022. Obviously, this was during the stadium fight. The kind of the heart of it, where there's still a little bit of question up in the air as to whether the team's going to stay. No deal had been reached yet. When you were out doing your canvassing very early on, how much of it was educating the community, hey, there's a team here, versus the entertainment background style of it, of hey, come out to games? What is your what has been the process early on?
Yeah, so I started in like mid-October. So I was actually at the City Hall events and everything as a fan. I remember I was actually sitting next to Andy during one of them, and I had an interview, I think, the next day. And I thought about telling him, but I was like, let's just I'm just going to keep it close to my chest just in case, things don't go too well. But, so I was there as a fan, and I felt like I was very vocal on kind of what was going on. I think I was even posting threads on like the Kind Line Coalition Twitter at that point, kind of like updates like actively throughout that. So, but kind of just with the events and everything, I think then it was more just kind of at the beginning of the year, it was kind of more, or towards the end of the year, it was more just me trying to build out my team and kind of figure out what I wanted. So there was just like a lot of hiring and educating on, my staff, kind of to show them what OCSC was, what we want to do, and kind of just started the big rollout in January, February of the next year. But our big thing was that we were Orange County's club through and through. So we weren't just Irvine, Santa Ana, whatever. We're all 36 cities, one county. So that's kind of what we were trying to push the most. And obviously, for me, it's the soccer first, but like you mentioned, the entertainment aspects, like we really push the family-friendly environments, the beer fest, the Kind Line Coalition, like join the supporters behind the stands, be involved. We want people to be proud of where they come from and this team. And I think, we've seen that with some aspects, and sometimes it's just, hey, you're looking for a cheap date. You're looking for a cheap thing to do with your family. That's sometimes a selling point right there. And, we'll take it. Because once people get in, one of my marketing directors, she told me this when I first started, but they did something, I don't know, some type of, not survey, but they ran some numbers a year or two ago, and they said once someone comes in, they're like 72% more likely to come back. So the process is just getting them in the door, whether that be, hey, here's some tickets, or here's beer fest discount, or here's this free parking, at the stadium. But that was kind of the goal, just get people in, get people aware. And I think that's why last year we saw a lot of, not just with Street Team, but kind of just our marketing in general, a lot more branding, the billboards, the bigger kit launches and stuff like that. So I think it all ties together.
So would you say the average person, are they aware of the existence of the team, or is it kind of a little bit of an education for those people?
I would definitely say it's an education. A lot of times, unfortunately, especially when we're at more family-centric stuff, a lot of people think we're a soccer club, we're a club team. So that's kind of where the difficulty lies. And sometimes people, the second we say, "Oh, we're a professional team," they just turn around and leave because they're looking for the strikers, or they're looking for Juica or whatever. So that's kind of been the most difficult hurdle right there. But so I think the biggest help with all of that has kind of been Gnarly, our mascot. So Russell rocking a Gnarly jersey right there. But he Gnarly, it's an enigma. It's very interesting character to deal with, and it definitely draws people's eyes. No matter where it goes. So whether it's walking down, 4th Street in Santa Ana, or if it's walking down the Irvine City Hall front area, it catches people's eye and they're like, "What is that?" So I think that's been our biggest not draw, but gets people to notice kind of what's going on and who we are. So they kind of identify us with Gnarly. If they see him, they instantly know, we're there, we're present. So always a hit.
So I will say this about Gnarly. Devin Kerr and I had a bet that he lost, and he owes the club a game where he comes and wears the Gnarly costume. I don't know if you knew that, Mikey, but Devin Kerr owes that to us. So we need to work on that. It's almost like a random thought, but it's too early. So I have 2 questions. And so I remember when you left. The Discord,
Mm-hmm.
And it occurred to me that you're going from being, English Dan sometimes calls a super fan
Mm-hmm.
to, be an employee. So I'm curious in general how that's changed the way you experience the club, but in particular, how has that changed your ability to enjoy match days, enjoy the match itself?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, because obviously I think that's the conversations I had with Dan as well, and my marketing director at the time. In interviews, it was it's not all glitz and glamour, just with you have the games, but then you have all the behind the scenes stuff that you're working months towards. But the passion is still there. It's always been there. This is still my favorite team. I think I became more passionate and I became more proud to live in Orange County because of this club. And I've kind of tried to carry that with me when, through game days, through all the experiences I've had with the team. And I think just kind of experiencing game days are a little different. I've kind of bounced around in roles on game days. Last year, I mentioned, this year, right now I have, all these different bits and pieces to my role. But last year I was the social media manager for 6 months because we had someone leave a week before the season started. I was in charge of stuff with the foundation community at the end of the year, in charge of Street Team. So there's kind of just been a lot of things going on. I was helping Edison out in the booth upstairs. I was backup PA announcer. There's so much that kind of goes into it, and little bits that at least me, little checks I get to check off on my bucket list. I've never thought I'd be a PA announcer before, but I yelled and screamed into that mic when Milan Alassi scored the goal on his birthday, and that was my first goal call, and I have that saved somewhere in my files because I was just so happy to even be part of that. And that's not something everyone gets to do, is call a goal for their club for the best player in club history, essentially. But I think, right now what my role is kind of just activating Street Team stuff in game. So it's sending out the street team to, either they have the flags or they're gnarly or the t-shirt toss or different, trying to get the crowd energized during the game. So sometimes I have a little bit more time to kind of sit back and kind of observe. But for the most part, I feel like I'm just running around and I'll maybe catch the replay the next day. So, I've missed a lot. I've missed so many goals this year just because I'm running around. I'm in the tunnel. I'm checking on my team. I'm making sure Gnarly's alive. I'm all this stuff. So it's definitely added a new element to the game. And, no matter, how long I'm here, where I go, I'm always going to be an OCSC fan through and through. So it's definitely changed a lot, but it's a really cool experience to be in the back.
Well, that's an interesting answer. And, I think it's safe to say that if you can get out there, there's always a shot of Malort available for you. I think some people would like you to know that.
Russell, he's on the job at that time. He can't go drink.
I've had plenty.
Yeah.
I've had plenty of staff members drink with me on match day, Mike. So it's fine. I can get you a pass. Right? So my second question, and I hope you saw the chat, the private chat. So in my family, 3 out of 4 members are followed by the club. One of them isn't, and that's my daughter Paige on Instagram at Paige Buto 13. And I'm just wondering, what is it that she would have to do in order to earn a follow status from the club? Scroll up if you didn't look at this already.
I see it right now. I don't know. Maybe most post a selfie with Gnarly, and we'll see what we can do.
Wear the Gnarly jersey.
Wearing a Gnarly jersey.
There you go. I hope she's downstairs watching this because she's the one that is the most vehemently opposed to me wearing this thing. But, yeah.
It's the greatest kit we've ever made. So
yeah, I'd like to wear it more often.
Well, right. Here's what we gotta do. We're running short on time here. This is a great conversation. We've had fun, but Michael, I want to first, on behalf of not just our podcast, Orange County fans, thanks for the great work you've been doing to help spread the word of Orange County. I can say this as a fan of the team first. I've enjoyed the experiences and seeing more butts in the seats, more excitement, more noise, more passion. I've enjoyed seeing the crowd trying to get into the stadium and seeing a little bit of a line because that means there's something that people are enjoying about this. So thank you for what you're doing as part of that work to grow that. What I want to do for you also is there's maybe, I'm not saying probably, there's maybe a local someone that listens to our podcast that's local that wants to find out how can they get in contact with you and your street team and maybe invite you out to one of their events, either a school event, a city event, a business event. What's the process for those people that want to reach out to you all in the club and get that going?
Yeah, so you can either reach out to me directly, or we also do have a form I can put in the chat right now on our website. So even if you don't remember this form here later, you would just go to the OCSC website, go down to community, and the drop down will just be Gnarly and Street Team appearance requests. And so you just fill that out, and then we'll get back to you, see, if it fits with our calendar. But, it's been, we luckily have, like I said, we have a lot of events each week. So we're kind of all over the place. So we have June pretty packed. July is coming there. So always exciting to have people reach out to you and request you for events instead of the other way around. I think that's kind of where we're at now, which is a good thing to see. We have, cities and organizations reaching out to us and they want us there instead of us wanting to be there. So it's always a good thing to see when, your hard work kind of fruitions and people want you back time and time again. So.
Perfect. Maybe I'll put together an event in the near future. Maybe I'll wait till next season since you guys are pretty booked. Maybe we'll do like a mascot surfing competition, and I'll request Gnarly to come do some surfing out there at Huntington Beach or one of the local beaches. He looks like he's a surfer, so I would assume he knows how to
yeah, it's definitely a surfer. Yeah.
So Mikey, do you need to give a shout out to your spouse before you go?
Oh yeah, my wife. I got married in January. My wife Paige, she is not here. She's at a book signing in LA, like somewhere in like Culver City or something. So, but yeah, shout out to Paige. Love you lots, and thanks for having my back with all the OCSC stuff and always coming to games and cheering me on.
Congratulations, Michael. Thank you for taking some time to speak with us and share with us what you do. And we definitely want to have you back on because obviously we probably have 10 more questions we could have asked you tonight, but we'll just save that for a future episode. You can come share more of how things are going and what else you all are preparing or doing with the club.
All right. Thank you, Ray. Appreciate that. And thanks, guys.
Thanks, Michael. Here we go. We got to check in on our predictions, and then we got to give our prediction scores, and then we'll wrap things up here. So I'm going to hand it off to you, Mr. Brad.
All right, so we'll be quick about it. Taylor is still currently in first after not putting up any more points this week. Margin is narrowing between the rest of the group. Michael with 25, Kayvon and Andy, producer Andy with 24 in second and third respectively. And I mean, check it out on the screen. This will be posted in the Discord later tonight as well.
Awesome. And let's do our predictions for this upcoming match against Oakland. I will let our guest host tonight, Russell, go first. Russell, what's your prediction for the match?
So I have had some pretty consistent predictions over the last couple of years. I'm going to do something pretty different this time. I'm going 5-4 OC. I think it's going to be a goal fest. I don't know why, but.
All right. 5-4 Orange County winning the match. What about you, Brad?
I'm not very confident in this prediction given how we've been playing, but I'm going to say that we avoid playing down to Oakland's level because they haven't been playing up to everybody else's. 2-1 OC.
My prediction for this match, I'm going to go 3-0 Orange County for this match. And I will get this submitted, Brad. 3-0 Orange County on this match. We need to get a shutout here. We need a big match. Why not against Oakland, who apparently Peter said is struggling. So
I hope we have random thoughts left. Don't.
So you haven't been on the show since we switched it up. We don't really do random thoughts anymore, Russ, but I'll let you give a quick one if you want to throw one in.
I think I've heard some recently. Maybe I was wrong.
Maybe when I'm here, I take it.
Yeah, over the last 2 weeks, Dylan and I both don't like his new segment as much as he likes it, so we kind of threw it back into the remix.
Well, I worked hard on this random thought, so it's a not so random thought. But I read today that there's going to be one more night of the Northern Lights on the news, and I thought everyone would be interested to know that these Northern Lights, these coronal mass ejections as they are, it's not just solar flares. There was one that happened in the 1800s called a Carrington event. And there's a prediction that in the next 5 years, we're going to have a Carrington level event that's going to throw out satellite communications and a lot of telecommunications equipment that we could have a loss of all internet for like a year. So I just thought I'd throw that out. If you think looking at the Northern Lights is cool, get ready. In the next 5 years, we may have no internet for a year.
Oh, we've already got Brad working on our contingency plan. If that happens, what we're going to do for that. He's been training pigeons to be able to send out our message if we have to go that route.
This isn't
right,
a
Brad?
pigeon. This isn't a pigeon, Ray. This is a dog, and I've been training her semi-successfully.
All right, now for the ever popular segment. We got rid of random thoughts for this. What have we learned in this episode? Hey, I'm going to go first. And I'll give you all a chance to think of what you learned in this episode. You know what I learned this episode? I finally learned that Gnarly's pronoun is it. That's what I learned in this episode. What did you learn, Brad?
Man, I don't even remember the name of what Russell just said. A Carrington event.
Yeah.
I actually found that quite hilarious. That doom and gloom. Imagine the world without an internet for a day, and all the TikTok kids are learning what it was like to be. I mean, even me as a kid, because I was around at the very, very beginning of the internet boom.
Thus, Brad, get those pigeons trained because we may need them. Russ, what's your random thought, or not random thought? What did you learn in this episode?
I learned that Oakland City politics are as bad as Irvine City politics. I never really thought about it, but yeah, they're screwed up there.
Well, I want to thank Brad and Russell and producer Andy for the show. Also, our guests that have joined us for this episode, Peter Bloom from Roots Blog, Michael Rodriguez from Orange County Soccer Club, plus all of you that paid attention to us, chatted in the comments, enjoyed what we had to talk about. I'm glad you did. And I'm glad to be back. I missed y'all for the last couple of weeks. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure you follow us on social medias, follow us on your local or your favorite podcasting platform, and give us a thumbs up in any instance that you have an opportunity to do that on the podcasting forums, on any of our social media. Do it. We like it. We like to see those thumbs. With that said, I'm Ray Samora. This has been the Orange and Black Soccer Cast, and we are out.